retired Warwick police officer for at least 13 years, so you may have run across this before. Just to give you a little background, just so you don't think it's just a boring topic of insurance, which it is, that's why they put me first. But I live and work in the village. I've been in insurance for about 20 years now. Like I said, I've been teaching defensive driving for over 13 years. I have a 19-year-old stepson that actually is driving for about a year now. And I have a 10-year-old that can probably drive better than my husband and I put together, if I let him. I tell you this background because I come from both sides of the fence. I know the excitement of having a teen driver, yet the fear of having a teen driver, all in one. I've seen the impact of teen drivers on insurance, both their own and their parents, and usually get those calls from their parents who are more angry at us than they are at their kids. We won't talk about that right now. And I've heard the stories from my husband being a police officer for 22 years about teen drivers, and most of them aren't good. Some of them are, but a lot of them are sad. So I want you to know when I speak about this that I do have some background. I come from, knowing what it's like being a parent of a driver, but also seeing the impact that different things and driving behaviors, put on your insurance. So I'm very excited to be asked to speak tonight. I think it's great that Superintendent Bryant has implemented this program. I know you guys may think it's inconvenience, but you spend your whole life to this point so far protecting your kids. And this is the most critical time. It is the time, from the time they were born until now, that they have the highest possibility of being killed. So now is the time that you have to really stand up and make sure that you're involved. I think it's so important for parents to stay involved when your kids start driving. Actually, there's statistics that show the more the parent is involved, where your kid is, monitoring their driving, the safer driver they'll be. So they've actually done studies on that. So it's not just something we say just to say it, but stay involved with your kids and know where they are and monitor them. So with that, hopefully most of you have this handout that was outside. It's entitled Teen Driving Insurance, Parental Guidance Advised. If you don't have it and you have someone sitting next to you that does, maybe you can just kind of glance over their shoulder. I just want to step you through a couple of things. There's going to be some statistics. Actually, maybe we can get someone to bring some more in if they're out there, and if anyone needs one, you can kind of raise your hand. I think there's probably more people than they anticipated. So. All right, so with that, I just want to go over a couple things. I know there's going to be other statistics that are mentioned, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on statistics, but there's some on the very first page. If you can turn to the first page of the handout. Again, car accidents are the leading cause of death for 16 and 20-year-olds. Every year, over 5,000 teens aged 16 and 20 die due to fatal injuries, and another 400,000 are injured. For each mile driven, teens are 4 times more likely than other drivers to crash. At 16 years old, the risk of a crash is highest in the first year of driving. Obviously, why? Why the first year? Because the inexperience, exactly. In fact, they are 20 times as likely to have a crash than any other driver. Also, this might surprise some people, but 23% of drivers aged 15 to 20, in some states you can actually drive at 15, who died in car crashes had a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher. So I know the new thing today that probably Joanne will talk about is texting statistics, but there's still some statistics out there where a lot of these kids that have crashes have been drinking. 74% of teens killed in an auto crash related to DUI were not wearing a seatbelt. Teens are actually the worst when it comes to wearing seatbelts. So as parents, hopefully you've instilled that in them already, and they always have their seatbelt on. And over 50% of teen deaths from car crashes occurred between 3 p.m. and midnight, and 54% occurred on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So hopefully armed with these statistics, you can help yourselves or your children avoid these particular situations. So why are teens more at risk? Well, we said it already. Inexperience is one reason, obviously. They're more likely to speed and tailgate. And believe it or not, having a male passenger in the car has been shown to increase the likelihood of high-risk behavior among teen male drivers. Sorry, guys. Tons the best. Of male drivers killed between 15 and 20 years of age, 38% were speeding and 24% have been drinking and driving. And again, like I said, teens have the lowest seatbelt use among all drivers. So not to give you shell shock, but if you turn to the next page, which is the green page, this is just a little chart, just to give you a clear picture. When I was 16 and started driving over 20 years ago, my insurance for liability only on a used car was $485 a year on my own policy. My parents made me get my own insurance, which I thought was a lot back then. Now, if you look at the chart for a female, the bottom part, $5,000 for a female to get insurance on their own policy with no accidents, no tickets. If you look across the chart for female, if they have one accident and one major speeding ticket, which is 15 miles over the speed limit, their insurance goes up $1,250. If they have a DWI, which I don't know about you guys, but I've been seeing more younger drivers getting DWIs than police blotter lately, which is kind of scary. The insurance goes up to $6,100. And you can see the same thing with male drivers. Male drivers, actually, when I was driving, used to be $985 for the year. So there was a big gap. And of course, back then it was a smaller amount, so it didn't seem so much. Now, girls are catching up with guys. If you look at the comparison of female and male driver, they're almost the same. Meaning, ladies, your statistics are catching up with the guys. And by the way, if you do put your child on your insurance policy, a lot of people do that now because obviously their kids or they can't afford this premium of having them on their own. The first 6 months to a year that you put them on your insurance helps when they go to get their insurance in the future because they get a prior insurance discount. And it can lower these premiums up to 20 to 30% after that second year of driving. And after they've been driving 3 years, the insurance actually drops by 50% or more. They get surcharged the first 3 years. It's called an inexperienced operator surcharge. Because that's when they're more likely to have accidents. On the back of that green page, we're just going to pretend the parents. You're in your 40s, you have 2 vehicles, and you start with no driver in your policy. Your insurance is about $1,500 a year for full coverage for 2 cars. Then you decide you're going to add your 16-year-old daughter to the policy with an additional car. So the insurance goes up to $4,105, so that's about $2,600. A lot cheaper than having them on their own insurance, but still expensive. Something you have to re-budget for. Yeah, some people are more, depends on the scenario. I'm getting the thumbs up like, wait. It depends, it's just one scenario. And then, say the daughter got a DWI. Well, now the parents just got non-renewed and have to be rewritten completely. And their insurance is now almost $7,400 a year. So, I mean, I know the kids, you probably are like, what does this mean to me? But it's financial hardship for your parents if they have to, try to cover this cost to keep their insurance. So I think it's important to know that, for the effect that these things can have. It used to be very simple. 20% surcharge if you had a speeding ticket, 20% surcharge if you had an asphalt accident. It's not that way anymore. There's so many factors involved in insurance that one little thing can make your insurance go up $500, $600, $800, $1,000. It really depends on what the scenario is. So on the next page, what can you do to keep insurance costs more manageable? Well, first you can teach your teens good driving skills, be their role model. Most kids learn how to drive from watching their parents for 16 years. And if you drive with your seatbelt on and are not speeding all the time, then hopefully they'll follow. And I know teens experiment because I've been there and I have one. But, be their role model. Monitor your teens driving. Stay involved. I said that from the beginning. This is so crucial. There are GPS programs you can buy, and I know the kids are going to start throwing darts at me. Look, I don't have pencils or anything. But they plug into the vehicle under the steering column, and you can actually take it out and plug it into your computer, and it'll tell you how fast they were going at any given time, how far they drove, if their braking was too hard, if it was too light. I mean, there's all kinds of things that this does. It gives you a report. And I can already hear the teens mumbling, really freaking out. Hopefully my tires aren't slashed when I leave here. But I know they're all mumbling, you guys, but you don't understand the statistics and the aftermath of what your parents have to go through if something happens to you. We all think that we're invincible at 16, 17, or 18, but if something happens and you get killed, you don't think of the effect that it'll have on your family and your parents if they have to go on without you. And one of the things I forgot to say, the worst part of my job is taking claims from parents who have lost or had a kid that was injured in a car accident. And in 20 years of insurance, I've taken 3 of those calls from a parent who's called to tell me that their son or daughter was killed in a car accident. And those are not easy calls to take. They're heart-wrenching, and I hope and pray that I never have to take those again. But if I look at the statistics, probably in the next 5 years, I will get at least another one of those calls. I hope not. I hope you statistically make things different. But that's why it's so serious. You can also sign up for driver's ed class, which I'm sure some of you have already taken and or signed up for. It's a 15% discount on insurance. You can sign them up for a defensive driving class, which, like I said, I've been teaching for 13 years. This is an additional 10%. And if you're signing them up and making them go, then go with them. Because you get credit too. Make it a family thing, and you'll all go and get the credit. You can actually do these online now, so you don't have to sit in a class. You can do a Google search, you can look at our website. You can actually do them online over a 30-day period to get that credit. Some carriers actually offer good student discounts for having good grades, usually a B or better. So if your kids have good grades, make sure you tell your carrier that, because maybe they can give you a discount. Research cars for your teens to drive. You have no idea how many times we get a phone call, someone that just bought their kid a 2010 BMW for them to drive, which is fine if you don't mind paying money for it, but it's expensive. You saw what the price was for $5,000 for this liability. It gets up there. So it's research first, find a safe car, and check and see what the rates are before you get it for them. Obviously, if you buy a newer car that requires comp collision because you have a loan or you want to make sure it's covered, the rates are going to be higher than a used car with this liability. And have your team responsible for paying all or part of the insurance. Again, more darts, right? More darts and pencils. Also, a glove from Texas. The reason I say this is because when they see a direct impact of their driving, whether it's good or bad, like the next year they get a good driving discount because they drove really good for the year and their insurance that they goes down. They get to see the direct impact of what it is that their driving is causing. A lot of people say to have a written parent-teen driving contract, which I've included a copy of in the back as a sample. I think it's up to you and your kid, the relationship you have. Some people feel it's necessary, some don't. There's a sample back there if you want to use it. And another thing that the teens won't be happy about is you as a parent, from the time they get the permit at 16 to the time they turn 18, have the right, afraid to say this, withdrawal of consent. You can actually fill out a form and take their permit or license back away from them. If you see that you can clap there. A lot of people don't know this. They get frustrated because their kids, they know they're driving bad, they've had a couple accidents, they've already had a serious car accident, and they don't realize this is something you can do. The copy of the forms in the back of the packet, if you feel that they're heading for a disaster, or your insurance is way too expensive because of all the tickets and accidents they've had, you can do that. And you send it into our vehicle, and it takes their driving privilege or license away. And when their license is gone, they're not rated as a driver on your insurance anymore. I know I'm losing some people back there, but. So basically, 2 statements. To the parents, stay involved. It's up to you to make sure your teens are safe and don't become a statistic. To the teens, this is your life. You have to preserve it. All right? And basically, if any questions on the bottom of this sheet, our address is there, my email address is there. If anyone has any insurance-related questions when it comes to teen driving, feel free to give us a call. We also have teen videos at our office. So if anyone wants to come in with their teen, with a group, just parents, and look at some of the videos that we have, we'll put you in the conference room, we'll pull the projector up, and feel free to stop by any time. Just call us first, and we'll get it set up for you. So thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Joanne.